So, but before we film anything, can I just ask? This is for young Han Solo. Well, let's give it a shot, as the kids say. You never heard of the Millennium Falcon? It's the ship that made the Kessel Run in less than 12 parsecs. Well, if I get the part, I'll research, believe you me, what all that means, so I can give it a little more credibility. I'll know what I'm talking about here. I'm just kind of reading it. I can't say I'm all that familiar with the entire universe or phraseology.
Three Films and a Podcast has no claim of ownership on any film footage used in this episode. All film footage is owned in its entirety by the copyright holders and is used solely with the intent of film criticism, commentary, and education under fair use law. And just like every car in Too Fast, Too Furious, this podcast contains spoilers. Enjoy.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Three Films and a Podcast, our Star Wars episode. May the 4th be with you on this wonderful, beautiful May the 4th, Star Wars Day. We're bringing you a special episode to celebrate our galaxy far, far away. And we are excited to have two wonderful guests. Today we have Candace in Florida.
Hi.
And Arezou in Toronto.
Hello.
They run the Geeky Waffle and Space Waffles podcasts. Do you guys want to give a quick rundown of your podcast?
Oh, where do we even begin, Arezou? Our latest podcast is Space Waffles, which is all about Star Wars, which obviously, like, both of us are huge fans of it. And Arezou's hosting. Yeah. What would you like to let people know?
I'd like to let them know that, it's basically very Star Wars focused and it's very kind of wide ranging. So we've got like deep dives, we have our opinions, we're doing book reviews, which I'm very excited about.
Awesome.
People who listen to Geeky Waffle know that we tend to make a lot of things about Star Wars when it's not. So now this is
wait, Arezou, you say they, like it's multiple people. When really it's just like it's just
me.
I'm just excited to see how Raylo comes into this. I know it's happening at some point, so I'm very excited
tonight.
To see.
I don't know. We'll see. But
I
have this tendency to make everything about Ben Solo, and Candace has either very kindly or foolishly given me a vehicle to do so.
I love it.
I said she can have a 1 minute Kylo minute.
Get one Kylo
minute, just 1 minute.
Hey, we are very Adam Driver friendly here.
On a tangent.
They run a great podcast, very entertaining. I tuned in, check you guys out. I loved it. I will be tuning in again, especially Star Wars is one of my near and dear movies. And so I'm excited to tune into that. Yeah, now I guess moving on into the meat of Solo, a Star Wars story. All right. It's May 2018. Han Solo's son has just cut Supreme Leader Snoke in half.
Spoiler
Luke
alert.
is dead, and Rey is still a nobody. The fan base is divided. What better way to jump into a galaxy far, far away than jumping into the past with Han Solo on his very first heist? This, of course, is covering Solo, a Star Wars story, directed by Ron Howard, and yeah, we wanted to celebrate Star Wars Day, doing one of the not as much talked about movies. Excuse the kids in the background. One of the not so talked about. What's that?
They love Solo.
They heard Solo.
They love it.
They're standing outside the door. They're like, yes. Yeah, I feel like the Star Wars story, or we felt the Star Wars stories don't get enough coverage. So we wanted to make sure that we gave it its due, and wanted to start off with a conversational question. And it's a want versus need. Did we as a Star Wars fan base, because I'm talking about all of us, did we want this? Did we need this? What do the fans want? Candace, what are your thoughts on that?
I didn't want or need this. This is actually the only Star Wars movie I didn't see in theaters, and I saw Clone Wars in theaters. So
I did too.
Yeah, but this one,
there's very few of us.
Yeah, but this is the only one I did not see in theaters because I was like, I can wait. I'm not going to be spoiled. I know what happens to Han Solo. And also with all the trouble behind the scenes, I was just like, I'll wait.
It's fair.
Makes sense.
Okay. Yeah. Your thoughts, Arezou?
So I feel like fans generally want more of their fave and then don't want anything else. I don't know that we needed this. I didn't mind it. I saw it in theaters. I thought it was fine. I think it probably would have hit better if they had switched its release with Rogue One and had it come out after The Force Awakens. So we've just watched this man die. Unfortunately, very sad. And then we sort of watch how that all began. So it's like a flashback, almost like a mini Machete Order. Like you watch the end and you watch the beginning.
Okay, yeah.
So I think it maybe would have hit better if it had come out then. But
That makes sense.
It's fine. I enjoy it for what it is.
Yeah, I wondered about like the Star Wars exhaustion because we were getting them kind of nonstop at that point. But I think it's a good call that if it had been after Force Awakens, kind of like they're doing with Black Widow, it's like we're going to go back real quick and show you what she was doing before Civil War. But, let's see how Han Solo became Han Solo. I put it down as like a 70-30 want need. I really enjoy an origin story. Batman Begins, like Guardians, Matrix. Like I think you can do origin stories are a ton of fun. I just think they're really difficult to do when you're doing it about like an established character. Yeah. Because we have all these expectations, it's like, I know feelings on the Joker are mixed, but like that wasn't necessary. I didn't love it. You know what I mean? We don't need that. Same with, Phantom Menace, I guess, it's just like, I don't know. It's just, I don't know that we need all of these like Monsters University. Like it was kind of cool to go back, but I don't know, it's difficult when you have these expectations of who these characters are. So it just felt like that was hard to achieve. And like Candace said, like with all the production stuff going on behind the scenes, it's just, I think you're kind of left wondering like, oh, what could have been, like, what did they want to do? And not that Ron Howard isn't like a capable filmmaker, but I don't associate him with like the fanfare and like the wide universe of Star Wars,
Willow didn't do it for you?
Surprisingly not. If he had got Val Kilmer in this, then I would have been on board for sure. But, we only got Warwick Davis, so I was out.
Yeah, there was I like that tie-in with that. So that's actually one of the first movies I ever saw with my other grandpa was Willow. There was a question on Twitter today, like, what's the first movie you remember seeing in theaters? And I think mine was Willow. So I like that tie-in. Nice. I like that full circle there. Yeah, I'm in the camp of like, I don't know if we needed it, but I'll take it, right? Like, because I think of the five of us here, I'm the least, not that I'm not a fan of Star Wars, but it's something that I've just only recently got into. We've talked about it a lot on the pod. I don't know if you guys have heard that conversation at all, but we did a watch party earlier during this pandemic where we ended up watching the first three Star Wars, so A New Hope through Return of the Jedi. So, and that's kind of when I started to realize like, oh, this is actually like a world that I really enjoy. I started to like, that's when it started to sink its hooks into me. So, I had seen all the newer ones. Like I saw Solo in the theater. I saw Rogue One in the theaters. I saw some of the prequels in the theaters, but it never really did hook me. I liked it, but it was just sort of whatever for me. I mean, whatever's a little harsh, but you know what I mean? Like, so, I'll watch all of them. And now that I'm sort of becoming more of a fan, maybe I would have thought differently about this, so this movie Solo, but I don't know. One thing that you kind of made me think of, Ben, was like seeing an origin story for a character like Han. A lot of times, like what you could think of in your imagination is a lot more fun than what you end up being shown. And I will say, with that in mind, I think they did a pretty good job of giving you a story that is like interesting, right? Or that you can like attach to. Especially my favorite thing was seeing the Chewie origin, like how they met. I think like that's a partnership that, you can create your own little story, and like the mystery of it makes it a lot of fun. Like, how did these guys meet? How did they get attached? And the way that they did it in this movie, I thought was really cool. I thought that was a fun way to, it starts very adversarial and they ended up teaming up and almost out of necessity. So I thought that was really cool. But yeah, I mean, I'll take whatever Star Wars you throw at me, whether we need it or not.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that in the sense that I'm super easy on Star Wars, like embarrassingly easy. I have to try to critique it, honestly, because I just pretty much love everything. But I think like any out of saga Star Wars movie goes into the need category for me. But I don't think everyone agrees that we wanted or needed or a Han Solo film, other than it was exciting at the prospect of seeing Han Solo and his younger self, like doing cool stuff in the galaxy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But then you do run into the challenge of how do I do an origin story out of this that satisfies everybody? But at the end of the day, I think kind of like Arezou said, like people just want to be in the galaxy far, far away. People want more of what they like. So I think in that regard, it was wanted. But I just remember when it was announced, like people like being like, do we need a Han Solo origin story? And the answer from everybody was like, no, but we all still went and saw it. But so getting into like some of the characters in the casting, since half the cast were characters we already knew, we had people trying to fill in places that, we weren't really used to seeing these faces or these people doing these things, or ships or droids. And so I wanted us to go through and quickly kind of give each of these roles a grade and maybe a brief explanation on why, if you feel so compelled. But we're going to start off with the main role, Han Solo, and we're going to start with Arezou.
So if I had to give Alden Ehrenreich a grade, I would give him a B+, and here is why. I saw the take once that Solo, a Star Wars story, reads like somebody in the galaxy far, far away decided to make a Han Solo biopic. And that's what it looks like. So with that in mind, it is a very talented actor doing his best Harrison Ford doing Han Solo. And he does a very good job. There are moments where it's not Harrison Ford doing Han Solo, it's just Han Solo, like which I'll talk about when we talk later about favorite moments and stuff. There are moments where that just comes out. I'm like, there he is. There's Han. And then it goes back into Harrison doing Han. Like it's thankless. It was always going to be thankless. Everybody watching this movie grew up watching Harrison Ford, and there's that expectation in your head. And then this guy has to come in and sort of try to do that instead. And it was always going to be a tough role to fill, but he does it very, very well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think he did a great job. I remember all the just the commotion, I guess, behind like who they're going to cast and stuff like that. And again, like nobody would have been happy. Like everybody would have been happy with whoever they picked, but you brought up, it's like a play inside the galaxy. And I was just thinking earlier about how much Han and Chewie meeting up is kind of like the Thor and Hulk thing from Ragnarok. And now I'm thinking about like the play that Loki puts on of what happened, inside the Ragnarok.
Yeah.
Like, there are a lot of similarities between those. It's really good.
Father?
Ocean. For sure.
I feel the same way, like just to echo your sentiments, like it was a tough role for anybody to take on. I think he did his best job to kind of do what Harrison was doing as Han. Like I feel like there were moments I'm like, oh yeah, I could see Harrison Ford doing that, or like that was Han. Like I like that part, but I'm the same with you. I'd probably just give him like a solid B+, but it's a thankless role to take on, but I think he did good.
Yeah. I'm going to echo a lot of the sentiment, but I'm going to give him a higher grade. I'm going to give the guy an A because in my eyes, for something that is so beloved by such a huge, rabid fan base, not that our fans here on the pod, I would define as rabid, but it's a tough job, and the fact that he did it well at all, and did it proper justice, I think that's good enough for me, and I'd give him an A. I think one of the weird things that I thought, I don't know, maybe not weird, but what I noticed was the way that he played Han versus the way that we met Han was different in my opinion, in that the way in which he's cool and witty is more aggressive with in Solo versus like what we grew up with. Like Harrison Ford Han is very like chill. I've seen it all, like more relaxed, witty, and cool. Where what's this kid's name? Aaron Rick?
Alden Ehrenreich, yeah.
Yeah. Whereas like Aaron Rick plays it like aggressively witty and like there's a little bit of a sharper edge to it. And you know, you can write it off as the Harrison Ford Han has already seen it all and done it all and traveled the galaxy. So he doesn't need to have this like aggressive in your face attitude. He can just play it cool. Whereas this, you know, young Han is trying to prove himself. So I think with that in mind, good job. Well done, kid. Solid A.
Nice. I'm gonna give him a B. I felt like, I feel like he didn't go far enough in his own direction, for me to be like, okay, this is a different Han Solo. And then he wasn't Harrison Ford enough to be the Harrison Ford Han Solo. So I felt like he was kind of there in the middle, but he's a good actor, so I still enjoyed watching him. How about you, Candace?
Okay, I'm going to be the horrible person.
Yes, do it.
Oh, I can't wait.
Okay. This is not about the actor. This is about the casting. Okay, so
Fair.
Aldrin, I cannot say his name, just like I barely can say Benedict Cumberbatch's name.
Nailed it. That was perfect.
That's great.
That's great.
He was 28 during filming, and Han Solo in A New Hope is 29. He should have been played by a teenager or someone who looked like a teenager. That would have made it more believable, because in the next year he's going to meet Luke and old Ben on Tatooine?
Well, no, he's playing a 20-year-old or a 21-year-old. He's playing very young. He's supposed to, no, wait, hang on. He's supposed to be like 20, 21. He's supposed to be very young.
Oh,
I got the vibe he was young, but I
didn't take it with the actor. He looks his age.
Like the prologue, him and Qi'ra are supposed to be like 18 in the prologue.
Oh, wow. I would not have guessed that at all.
Yeah. So that's why I say you play it younger, and then it's also more forgivable that he doesn't look like Harrison Ford yet.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that he's so close in age to what Harrison Ford was when he played him too is my issue. If you're going to do young Han Solo, you get a young Han Solo.
Yeah.
That's fair. I mean,
that is just my take from it.
No,
there's no offense to the actor. He did what he could. It must have been complicated going from Lord and Miller to Howard, who have huge different directing styles. And then he got called out, like someone leaked to the press that he was doing an Ace Ventura kind of like performance. And then he needed training. But I feel like they did that to like make it look like it wasn't the like filmmaker's fault.
Yeah. Also, like if there's a problem, it's his fault.
Sure,
Yeah.
We gave him all the training he needed. Yeah.
Yeah. So I no offense to him, just wildly miscast.
That's fair.
You guys can tell I'm very passionate about Star Wars.
I love it.
I think it's great.
I love it.
I got a lot of opinions.
Well, I think to like Tyler's point too about like his type of humor, the wit, like I think that would also play well if he was a teenager, just like acting like he had to like fit in and be tough and whatever. And the fact that Aaron Reich he signed for 3 movies, they were thinking of a trilogy, I guess, which you could have had those other 2 movies, like have him kind of like smooth out his personality so the wit becomes just more natural, and he has seen it all. Because like I said, this was his first heist, and then all of a sudden, you know, he's the cool guy, you know, in A New Hope. It's like, well, that's a big jump from who we left off with. So I think your point's totally valid, Candace. Like if he was younger, I would believe kind of a shitty attitude more. You know, it's like, he's trying to be cool, you know, to fit in, but
this is a grown ass man.
You know what I wonder?
Exactly.
No, he's trying to play cops and robbers, you know, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
I want to come along, guys. Yeah.
Yeah. And then like if he kept doing movies, he would be older than Harrison was before like Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, it's true.
So we're older than what Han would be. Much older.
Much.
Yeah. So that's just.
Do we think it's, let me rephrase that. I think it's a bummer that we saw the Kessel Run. I think that should have been left to our imaginations, right? Or if they were planning on doing the sequel for Solo, maybe the Kessel Run could have been the sequel. I don't know, because it's just like it was a mythical moment in Star Wars lore, if from my perspective, as someone who's sort of getting into it recently. And I was just kind of like, That was it. That was, I mean, it was an intense mission, an intense
I'd like to
run.
see you. I'd like to see you do the Tesla run in less than 20 parsecs.
Hey, I've been to Galaxy's Edge. I've piloted the Falcon.
It is
Yeah, there
not
you go.
easy.
It is not easy, but I did it.
Even with a full crew, it's not easy.
Not when there's 5-year-olds at the pilot.
I don't want to blow a talking point later on, but we are going to go over favorite moments, and I feel like this might come up then because I enjoyed it quite a bit. So
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I didn't hate it, but I'm just like, you build it up in your head, and it's just sort of, there's no way that what you get shown is gonna, it's like, that's why they didn't really show the shark in Jaws, you know what I mean? Like, it's better left in your imagination. If that's kind of how I felt about it, but I didn't feel the same way about Chewie, so maybe I'm just overly picky and inconsistent with my takes.
Well, pulling in someone who wasn't in any other Star Wars movie before, the character Qi'ra, am I saying that right? Qi'ra?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. Is played by Emilia Clarke. I'd love to hear, Ben, your thoughts or your grade on her performance.
I think I'd also do a B+ there. I like kind of put in my notes that like her popularity this time as Daenerys was insane, and the only thing I could think of, right or wrong, was like it's Radcliffe and Potter, where you see this person and you associate them with this. Like,
Not me, not Hermione, you.
I know she was Sarah Connor in the Terminator movie, but I don't think that movie did much of anything. So this felt to me like really one of the first big like tentpole movies that she's doing after Game of Thrones had started. And to her credit, like I didn't see Daenerys at all the whole time. I'm sure having brunette hair helped a lot, but it's like, oh, she's like, this is good. I like seeing this. Like, I thought she did a great job. I don't know if I'm just being too hard with a B+ or whatever, but I'm like, I enjoyed her. I thought she was great.
Yeah. I have nothing to add to that. I'm going to just echo your sentiment. I mean, not that she's a forgettable character, but I think she was the most forgettable character that we see. You know what I mean? Like she definitely does some cool stuff. And I don't know. I guess maybe I just want more for the Mother of Dragons, like I don't know.
Yeah.
Emilia Clarke, if you're listening, please like and subscribe to our channel.
I mean, I thought she was good. B+, I don't know.
Okay, can I say something?
Yes, please.
Mhm.
As a half white brunette, can we stop casting them in Star Wars? I'm like, yeah, just a little bit.
No.
Just switch it up a little bit.
Something a little different.
Every time, like, she got cast, and then, oh gosh, why am I thinking Jen Erso's Felicity
Day? No, Huffman? No,
No,
yeah.
no. Oh my
Felicity
God.
Why did that just, like, go on?
Jones?
Jones,
Felicity
yeah.
Jones.
Yeah.
We were all like, every time we saw like a white brunette, we're like, Ray's mom, Ray's mom, Ray's mom.
Ray's cousin, Obi-Wan Kenobi's daughter.
Yeah.
But yeah, like she's great. She's great. She's a great actress. But like, I remember, I forget what podcast it was, but they were like saying that they've been in like meetings in Hollywood and they literally just have a book of Game of Thrones actors and we're like, we need to put them in our movies.
Yeah.
Just
wow.
like, the Stranger Things people,
Yeah.
just like whatever is a cultural touchstone at that point. They're like, get those actors in here,
Tie 'em in.
put them in a movie.
Yeah, I mean,
So
it makes
true.
sense, like Game of Thrones was the hottest thing around. And if you can tie two giant franchises together, you might as well give it a shot. And, she's about as big of a character from Game of Thrones as you can get, so if you're going to put someone into one of the biggest franchises in history, might as well be the Mother of Dragons. And yeah, she did well.
I would prefer the movie even be about her. Like,
Sure. Yeah.
what did she deal with for those 2 years?
Yeah, I guess that's kind of what I was
Yeah.
saying. Like when I say she's sort of forgettable because like her and Han, I just wish we would have seen more of just the two of them. You know what I mean? Or seen her struggle a little bit more. I just felt like it's like, we see what Han goes through and sure, that's great. And that's what we're here for. But like, she obviously has been through some shit to end up where she is when we catch back up with her.
Yeah.
And
It's
they
almost
just
like
sort of
she
brush
has a
it
better
away.
story.
Right.
Mhm.
Exactly.
She has a better
Yeah.
story. Like,
And so-
Wholeheartedly agree.
Yeah. Arezou, why don't you tell us what you think?
So there's two perspectives. There's like storyline and then there's character. As a character, A+. I love Qi'ra. I think she was the most interesting part of the movie for
Yeah.
me. Like she has the backstory that we don't know much about, but we know it's sad and it's like difficult, and there's all of that going on. In terms of storyline, she was underused. She
Right.
was there
Mhm.
as like a lackey to Voss. She was there as Han's love interest, as sort of the facilitator for the mission
Sure.
in
Yeah.
the back half of the movie.
Also,
But
remember, like, I was just thinking about this. They're like, Dragon Boss is like, oh, they can't know it's me. Here, bring my right hand woman
Yeah.
with you.
Yeah. Just so they don't know that it's
God.
me.
yeah.
not me
Sorry.
personally, but like I don't even know, because they want Emilia Clarke in their movie, but
Yeah.
they didn't think
They
why
want to put her in
would-
that cool cape.
which
Yeah.
It was a cool
She
cape.
did.
Yeah.
She rocked
Yeah.
just for that cape. But yeah, so she's like my favorite character in the movie because she's the one who I am most interested in. I know we're going to talk about like maybe sequels down the line, but if we get one in this sort of continuity, then I don't want it about Han. I want it about Qi'ra.
Yeah.
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 Everyone's like, make Solo 2 happen. I'm like, no,
Mm.
I want Qi'ra and Maul. I
Mm.
want
Like
to
it
know.
doesn't count as Solo 2
Mhm.
if it's Qi'ra and Maul, and that's the story I want.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want crime syndicates and,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
that kind of stuff.
For sure. 100% agree. I guess that's what I meant when I said she was a forgettable character. She's not,
Yeah.
but they just made her be forgettable. Like she
They
might
gave
be
her nothing to do. They
Yeah.
took the
Yeah.
most interesting plot line they had, which was Kira's life, and they made it play second fiddle to everything else.
right.
Yeah. They just alluded to, it was just a bunch of,
Like, my life's been
Illusions.
hard, looks into the middle distance. Anyway, Han, how are
Yeah.
you? Like,
let's make out
Moving
Yeah.
on.
in the closet.
No, I agree with that wholeheartedly. I gave a B plus, and had nothing to do with like the performance again. I echo pretty much all of what was just said. I also, maybe I'm old fashioned, or maybe it's just the Han and Leia shipper in me, but I had a hard time seeing Han romantic with anybody else. It's like seeing mom and dad. It's like seeing your dad, romancing somebody else. Like, I don't want to know my dad's girlfriend's in high school.
Yeah.
He's with
You
mom.
know it's not going to
you know?
end well.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
going to end
do you
well.
see that
Yeah.
Han has a type for short brunettes that yell at him?
You stuck up, half-witted, scruffy-looking nerve herder.
Yeah,
True.
Oh, that's true.
Gotta
It's
say.
always been that.
But yeah, I was kind of like the jealous kid watching something that I felt like I shouldn't be seeing. And yeah, I felt like I agree that like I like the idea of seeing her as an underworld usurper and seeing where that goes. And yeah, we got a flavor of that at the end, and it was like yes, and then no,
Yeah.
Next character is L3. Candace, I'd love to hear your thoughts on L3.
Okay. Maybe it's because I love Phoebe,
Oh,
but I
man.
love this character. And she's the one who's got like all the laughs out of me, except like a few Lando bits.
Yeah.
And yeah, when he's like, I know people are like, oh, she's too woke. She's the SJW droid, but I don't care. I loved her.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We
good.
needed it.
Yeah. It's great.
We needed the SJW.
And they're just like, and he's like, do you need anything? She's like,
I'm gonna go check on the dampers.
You need anything?
Equal rights?
I don't know why, but I found that hilarious.
Yeah.
That was way funny.
I love droids with attitude. Chopper from Rebels is like my favorite droid ever. So give me sassy droids.
Oh, yeah.
That's so good.
Tyler, how about you?
Oh, I didn't know it was me. Yeah, same. Yeah. Again, I'll just echo the same sentiments. I mean, and again, I'm not as much of a Star Wars expert as the four of you, but I feel like the only droid with attitude that we hear English words from is 3PO, and he's just such like a bummer. You know what I mean? He's just so obnoxious.
This is madness.
And
In an endearing way.
sure, yeah.
You got to watch Rebels. Even though Chopper doesn't speak like English, he speaks binary, but you can kind of tell what he's saying.
Right.
And a lot of it is curse words.
Well, you
Oh,
get that
nice.
you get the same thing from, R2 and BB-8. They all have personality and character, and they have their own stubbornness and they have their own whatever. But as far as ones that actually you can understand, in my memory, you have 3PO, who's just like sort of the stick in the mud worrywart, whereas L3 has the attitude, and you can actually hear the attitude, and you can like, it's that you're actually told what the attitude is rather than sort of picking it up through the interactions between the character and the droid. So I really liked that. And I liked her self-awareness and the droid uprising and all that stuff. I thought it was super fun, and yeah.
Can I
dug
add
it.
one thing?
Yeah.
The end of her is absolutely horrific.
Oh man.
So if you think about it and think about how she wants freedom,
Mm-hmm.
and then she gets tied to shit with other droids, if she was like human and like the same thing kind of happened, like
It's like Get Out, right?
It's worse than the novelization. It's worse than the novelization because she begs them not to do it.
Really,
Oh,
really?
man.
Oh, man.
And they do it anyway.
She's like
Oh,
stuck in
yikes.
the sunken place.
She's like explicitly saying,
Oh,
don't
man.
do this to me.
Oh,
That
that's
ruins
tough.
the movie for
But
me.
anyway.
Yeah,
I
that's
was
what
gonna
me out a
say,
lot.
that,
they try to make it better in like the Empire Strikes Back, a certain point of view where she's like,
Yeah.
oh, she became friends with all of them.
Mm.
But you're like,
But,
did
like-
she?
Yeah.
Is she friends with them or is she coping?
yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. She's dealing with the card she was dealt. Her Sabak hand.
The Sabak card she was dealt. I think I
Yikes.
looked at it like probably naively and selfishly, just like with rose colored tinted glasses. I was like,
Yeah.
cool. That means she's there still the whole time. Like,
Right.
she's gone, but whenever we see the Falcon, she's there. But knowing that side of it's a real bummer.
Yeah.
I think honestly, like two of my favorite droids come from the Star Wars stories because I love K2SO as well.
It's the fuel for the weapon.
The weapon your father's building.
Maybe we should leave target practice behind.
Are you talking about me?
Yeah.
And like, I'm putting my notes here. Like we did a Rushmore Mountain on our 4 favorite Star Wars side characters, and L3 made mine because I loved that character so much. I love like just the liberating all the droids and
Yeah,
stuff like that.
it's
Just
so
like,
fun.
and that, yeah, there's the attitude, and I mean, just like, how does it work? It's like, oh, it works.
Well,
It's
and
just
oh
like
my
all this
God,
stuff. It's
the
so,
pure joy.
so
implications.
good. I love it. And I know I was riding the high of like binging Fleabag and watching Killing Eve. So I was just on my Phoebe Waller-Bridge, just like,
Yeah.
give me everything, So
Yeah.
I know I was riding that high, but even rewatching it for this, I'm like, yes, that's still such a badass character. I love L3 so much. A plus.
Awesome. How about you, Arezou?
I'm just going to echo what everybody's been saying. I absolutely adore L3. I love her attitude. I love her approach to social justice for
Yeah.
droids.
Yeah.
And it
Her
makes
end.
so much sense because he says, like Lando says, I can't erase her memories because she has
Yeah.
all these like
Mhm.
maps and stuff in her head. So of course the droid's gonna go a little cray cray and
And
maybe
it ties
don't wake from
into-
his programming.
I think it's like a Clone Wars plot where Anakin doesn't erase R2's
R2,
memory
yeah.
and then R2 falls in the wrong hands. And they're like, but he's got all that memory. So because we know people do that regularly, they wipe their
Mhm.
droid's memories and Lando can't. How much shit does she have in her head that
So
has
much.
informed her new worldview?
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
just keeps building and building and building, and Lando can't do a damn thing about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that must be why the
So-
other droids don't go all rising if they're like getting their memory
Oh, they're getting
wiped
memory wiped.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's true.
constantly.
They're
Yeah.
constantly
Yeah.
starting fresh. I thought it was fun. Like it adds to the joy that she has in liberating the rest of the droids. Like you can see and just hear through the way that she's speaking. Like she's having so much fun and she's so stoked. Like she's found sort of like a new purpose.
You guys are not gonna believe what I'm seeing up here.
Is it a mass breakout?
L3, what did you do?
I found my true purpose, Lando! That's what I've done! I'm so glad we took this job!
That droid.
L3, come on!
Right. And
Mhm.
that's robbed of her if she keeps having her memory wiped because she has to build that all has to build for her. But yeah, that is a bum. I wish you wouldn't have told me that, Arezou. Now I'm sad. No, I'm actually glad to know because I think Ben, you were saying it. I was gonna justify it saying, well, at least she's still a part of the team. She's still
That was Tyler's
around.
favorite part of the movie.
Yeah.
But then her favorite person loses the ship.
True.
Oh,
So
yeah.
she's
She doesn't even get
off
to
with
see him
some
anymore.
kid.
That's just with Han. Yeah.
She doesn't see him again until Empire Strikes Back.
That's true. That's a very good point.
Yeah.
And I think,
We're ruining this for you all.
No wonder
That's okay.
No wonder
No.
she keeps messing with the Falcon and like, it's got such an interesting dialect.
I know. I
Cussing.
love that. How it ties in Empire Strikes Back. He's like, your ship has an attitude. I'm like, that's L3.
yeah.
He's like, I don't know you.
I don't know you.
I'm not talking to you.
C-3PO, I've never heard of him.
I mean, speaking of her favorite person, we skipped over. I want to go back to like my favorite casting, which is Lando.
Yes.
Because to me, it kind of felt like if you could just like have a dream casting, like, hey, they're redoing Solo, who should play Lando? It's like, well, Donald Glover would be great, but there's no way he's going to do it. You know, it's just like they'll get someone else. But like when I heard that he got cast, I was like, this feels too good to be true, because he feels perfect for this role. And I think he was like the combo of Lando and L3 together, whenever they're on screen, that's when I was having the most fun. I feel like Donald Glover was also just having the most fun, you know, doing this role, because he was also like playing into it, you know, like with Han, you know, I think he was kind of playing into the coolness of Lando from Empire. And I think he did a great job. I think, he was perfect casting. So another A+ for me.
Yeah, for sure. So I don't know Donald Glover at all, but like I was so happy for him when he got to be Lando, because I was like, there's no way that that's not a big deal for him. Right. Like just the same way that like it would be a big deal to be cast as Han Solo, or to be cast as a young Luke or whatever, or you know what I mean? So I was just so happy for him that he got to be Lando, and maybe he's not interested in anything other than Lando, but I was sort of sad that like when I say only gets to be Lando, please know that I love Lando Calrissian, but I'm like, I want him to be like more, I want him to be in that universe more, but just because I love him. I mean, I think you could put him in any movie and in any franchise and be better for it. So I don't know. I was happy for him that he got to be Lando Calrissian, someone that I assume was a big deal for him. I don't, you know,
he's a huge Star Wars fan.
Yeah, and Lando's a big deal to me, right? So
so it was a big deal,
and it was a perfect casting. But I'm just like, I want more of Donald Glover, and for whatever reason, we don't get as much
Lando series coming.
I was just gonna ask, do we think we're getting?
It was announced in December.
No, I know. I just didn't know if it was like, if we're going with like Billy D. Williams, are we doing like flashback stuff with Donald Glover? Do we know yet for sure?
I think it's going to be like young Indiana Jones with like Billy D. Williams narrating it. This is my theory, because Billy D. is up in age. No offense, Billy D.
Yeah,
you can get it. You can still get it.
Like and subscribe to our podcast.
But
sounds like he needs to subscribe to Geeky Waffle.
Yeah, no. Billy D, call me.
I said podcasts.
Slide in those DMs.
Space Waffles, come on. But I can't see him doing an entire series.
Yeah. I mean, I'm hoping we just get more Donald Glover for sure. So
the Lando Chronicles.
Yeah. Oh, it's gonna be so good. Everything they announce is gonna be so cool. Yeah.
Yeah. I was a huge Community fan.
Oh yeah.
Troy and Abed in the morning.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Troy and Abed in the morning.
I love Donald Glover's comedy. Before he was Childless Gambino, he did stand-up comedy. So like I was like 110% for this. And yes, he is the best part of this movie for me.
For sure.
And he is just a joy. And he's not doing like a Billy D impression exactly.
Mm.
He's playing like an interpretation. And I don't know if because I love him so much that I'm willing to like be a little bit more easier than I am on Alden. But
he does seem like Lando Calrissian, right? Like
he's got that swagger.
In that same argument I made, like young Han and old Han maybe are just different for the sake of being different ages, and I think you can make that argument with Lando here. Like, you know, maybe he's just a little bit different because he's young, but I mean, to me, like, again, he couldn't have been cast more perfectly.
Yeah.
I fall in a very weird space
with
Donald Glover, in that I adore his take on Lando. I think it's like one of the highlights of the movie, especially like his chemistry with like Alden and the way they play off each other. It's excellent. It doesn't feel like Billy D. Williams, Lando Calrissian to me.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like somebody else. And I think it's like the same, like the Alden thing, like there are flashes where I'm like, oh, that's what you're doing. But differently from Alden, he's not trying to be Billy D. Williams. I feel like there might be less pressure on him.
That's a good
because
point.
it's not his name on the movie. So he can kind of have a bit more freedom. Like I adore what he does with the role, but I don't know, it doesn't feel almost quite like the same character. So I'll be interested to see him and Billy D, like if they're both in the Lando series, like how that then sort of melds more into one take on it.
I don't know if it's because we know where Lando is in Empire Strikes Back. Like he has like this huge responsibility on him. And, you know,
well, there's different points in their lives.
And I know. And I know the same things with the Hans, but I don't know why I'm more forgiving of that with Lando.
Like, so it's because he does such a good job. It's because he's not trying to be anybody else. He's like, this is Donald Glover's take on Lando Calrissian.
Yeah.
And that's the beginning and end of it.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think, in fact, that was kind of my critique of Alden, is I felt like he kind of like was half trying to be Harrison Ford and half trying to do his own thing. He didn't go all the way one way. And I feel like Donald Glover kind of just made Lando his for this movie, and it worked really well for me. I agree with everybody. I think this was a grade A casting. And just like we've talked about with other roles, like, why is Han Solo the least interesting part of this movie? Like every other thing, like we want to see more of.
Yeah.
Definitely want more Lando. And was this the birth of the fan cast? Because I swear people were fantasy casting Donald Glover's Lando Calrissian for like years before this movie came out. So I'm curious to know is there another fan cast that happened before this?
I'm trying to think. I feel like some Harry Potter stuff happened when it was just like, who's a redheaded British person?
Yeah.
So they can be a Weasley.
Yeah.
So I think they got that. I forget, there was someone, but I cannot remember for the life of me.
Yeah, I think this seems like the most like straightforward one that actually came to fruition. So yeah, for me, this would probably be the first one that really was a true fan cast, it seemed like.
That's cool. Well, the fans did a great job on this one.
Good job, fans.
So we alluded to the fact that this movie was met with a lot of production drama. There's a lot of what might have been scenarios with this movie, especially since it did not perform well. So I'd like to let's throw to Ben, maybe to give a background on kind of what went on with this movie and what we think we missed out on regarding where this project was supposed to be.
I mean, super brief synopsis is like Lord and Miller, who had done like the reboot of 21 Jump Street. I think it was like that was probably like the first big thing that they did, right? Like
the Lego movies.
What's up?
Lego movies,
which are awesome. So yeah, they were originally directing this movie. Then after 5 months, they got pulled off. As I understand it, was like in between location changes because Kathleen Kennedy and the higher ups saw the footage and didn't like it. So then they brought in Ron Howard, who reshot 80% of what they did. I guess there's like only 3 or 4 scenes from Lord and Miller that actually are in the Solo movie. But we also got Into the Spider-Verse out of it, and they were able to go start working on that. So that was kind of cool. Yeah, I mean, I don't know like what this movie looks like if it stays with them. I mean, if it is just like super bonkers or whatever. I mean, Candace, Arezou, you had like on Geeky Waffle talked about your redo wish list, and this is on mine, number 2, right behind Edgar Wright's Ant-Man. You know, we're just like, just let the directors finish what they started. I mean, Edgar Wright pitched Ant-Man before Iron Man was even around. He wanted to do this, you know, it's like, I can't believe they pulled that away from him. And I kind of feel like this about Lord and Miller too. It's like, they know how to tell a fun story while staying true to, you know, the origins of it and, you know, the tone of it all. So I don't know, this was super shocking. I also feel like I can't think of bigger polar opposites than Ron Howard and, you know, Lord and Miller. I mean, maybe if they had brought in like Werner Herzog or something, maybe that's a bigger, like, I want to see Herzog's solo story. I will watch
Herzog's solo story.
It's a bear or something, a space bear.
Exactly. Like, get the Millennium Falcon over this mountain.
So what they said a lot was like, it was too meta.
Oh, okay.
Also, like, they were doing a lot of improv, and when you're doing a high budget thing like that, time is money.
Yeah.
So they were doing very long days and going over budget.
That's I remember reading that.
That's what they say.
Yeah, and Jake Kasdan didn't like it, right?
When you do improv in a franchise where every other word has a Wikipedia entry, improv is where like people with money start to get nervous.
That's totally fair.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, if you say a thing, now we have to make it canon and give it its own book and a comic backstory. And like,
Arezou, is that how Space Waffles was created? Probably.
Yes. Honestly, yeah. Because everything kept veering into Star Wars. And we're like, let's just.
It's just like so interesting to think about, though, the fact they had to reshoot 80% of it, you know, and like with the budget that it inflated up to, it's like, well, I don't know, like, would they have made more money if they just stayed with Lord and Miller? But all those points are valid. Like, they're worried about their property, and I get that, but I still would have loved to see what they did because I liked the scenes that got left in, you know. But Yeah.
Which ones were left in that were shot by Lord Miller?
The opening, like the basically the race through Corellia was one of them. I think like the kiss in Lando's closet. I'm trying to remember what the other ones were. Do you guys remember, Candace, Arezou?
No,
I don't know. I forget, but the scenes that they left in like really spoke to the tone of Solo. And if that's what the rest of the movie was like, I would have liked to see it, but yeah, I don't know. I still like Solo. I wish Lord Miller had gotten to show what they wanted.
Yeah. Yeah, this is my first time hearing any of this stuff, so I'm in the camp of like, yeah, like I loved Into the Spider-Verse. The Jump Street movies were fun. What else did they do? I was looking at their
the Lego movies. Like
yeah, the Lego movie was a lot of fun. So like, I like a lot of the stuff they did. I also like a lot of stuff Ron Howard does, and I enjoyed Solo. So I think I'm fine either way. But you know, it sounds like theirs probably would have been a little funnier, maybe.
Yeah.
You know. But I don't know. Yeah, it's interesting. It's Hollywood's weird, man.
Yeah, apparently the screenwriter Lawrence Kasdan didn't like that they weren't doing like word for word from his script. Again, this is all like Hollywood gossip and all that kind of stuff. And you know, who knows?
Who knows? We got what we got. Still pretty good.
That's great. So moving to favorite moments, Arezou, what's a must-see Star Wars moment from this movie to you?
I have two. So the one is Maul and Qi'ra right at the end.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Especially the second time I saw it, when I realized the whole time Maul is talking, Duel of the Fates is playing in the background, I started screaming.
So cool.
Didn't hear it the first time because I was so busy going, is that Darth Maul? Just that it's almost like everything went silent while I tried to process it. So that's one. And then my favorite moment in the movie is at the end when Han goes to play Spock with Lando to win the ship, because that's the moment where I'm looking at Alden going, there's Han Solo.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
That's it. In that scene, I'm like, that if it had been that energy the whole time, it would have been very, very different. I don't know what it is about that scene, but I'm like, yes, him like with Chewie and he's like rip his arms off and that whole thing.
Yeah.
And then it's like, just kidding, buddy. Like that whole scene it's my favorite scene in the movie. So that's my must-see moment.
That's awesome.
Awesome. What about you, Candace?
Pretty much every Lando scene when he's narrating his biography.
Oh my God.
The Calrissian Chronicles, Chapter 5, continued. Personally, I wasn't all that impressed with the Qi'ra. No sense of humor or style. Nonetheless, their L3 and I were deep in their sacred temple.
I didn't know she was an Imperial spy.
Doing his vlog. Yeah.
He's playing Sabak. He tells Han he hates him, and he's like, I know.
Yeah.
And Han's like, I got a bunch of people in the Falcon, and like Lando's just like, bye. He says out.
I'm gone.
Yeah. Yeah, all the Lando stuff was really fun. I echo all of that, but I think for me my favorite thing was when we meet Chewie. We don't get to see him be savage like that a lot. And so it was really eye-opening and like pretty scary to watch just how, you know, they call him the Beast, right? Like that's his name when we meet him, and just watching him how like strong and savage he is was really cool. And then watching him turn into the Chewie we know and love it's cool to see the origin there. So that was my favorite part, was the Chewie origin.
Yeah, I liked him holding up those arms in the elevator.
Yeah.
That's the outfit that would have fit me perfectly. A couple of visual things I like was when Chewie has him in the mud and it looks like Han, you know, being in carbonite. I thought that was kind of a cool little nod or whatever. I love the visuals of the train heist. I think that look super cool. And then, yeah, I actually just really enjoyed seeing the Kessel. Like I enjoyed seeing that because, you know, there was so much argument before that. It's like, well, you know, parsecs are like a distance, not as time, you know, like this doesn't make sense, you know, dude. And so I enjoyed them showing how that happened and a little bit of like that. I think it also kind of establishes more of the Lando and Han relationship, you know, because Lando has to hand over controls at that point. So that was probably one of my favorite parts of the movie. Yeah,
that part was awesome. I love seeing the Star Destroyer there. In the middle of that whole thing was really cool. I liked the whole like finishing up part of the movie that led up to the Darth Maul reveal. Like I liked, even though it was everything was building up to it as predictable, like the double cross. I liked the standoff, all of the standoffs. And I liked the way that it wrapped up and kind of was supposed to set up for maybe a sequel. I was just super excited about the Crimson Dawn and where that could go. I read on the Wikipedia page that Darth Maul was voiced by the guy who voiced him in Phantom Menace originally.
Sam Whitner.
And then
No.
And then
officially by the guy who did Phantom Menace.
and then they got Sam Whitmer from Clone Wars to dub over or to do his own dub of Darth Maul. And they didn't tell that guy until after production or after the premiere.
Yikes.
I just imagine like some bouncer at the movie theater being like, "Oh wait, no, you got your audio got cut."
Yeah, can you imagine finding out on Twitter? It's like, wait, they're doing the red carpet now? I was in this. What happened? Like, you're out. Sorry, dude.
Who's Sam Whitmer?
Apparently he was there. Ray Park was there with Ewan McGregor because they're buddies. And then they were watching it, and Ewan McGregor had no idea Ray Park was there. They just invited Star Wars people.
Oh, cool.
And Ewan just like flipped out on Ray Park. He's like, "Oh my god,
that's awesome!"
It's not even Ray Park's
so cool.
voice.
That's so cool.
That's awesome. So I guess to wrap this up, I guess, and this is a 2-part question: what worked and what didn't, and should there be a sequel? And I'm going to throw to Candace.
I just like to preface this saying, like, I've talked a lot of crap about this movie this past, but I will say this is a Disney Star Wars movie that I've seen the most.
Oh, interesting.
It's like comforting.
Yeah.
It's like the other stuff makes me cry. I've only seen Rogue One like a handful of times because I will sob uncontrollably every single time. And sometimes you just don't want to cry. Sometimes you just want a fun space movie.
Sure.
That's what this is.
And that's what it works with it. It's like one of those like Flash Gordons, the things that George Lucas wanted like Star Wars to be. Like it's a fun space tale.
Yeah.
So
I'm just gonna echo that. I think one of the things that this movie's up against is the fact that it is a Star Wars movie, because if it was just a fun space movie, I think people would look at it a lot different than they do. So yeah, I agree 100% with that like it's a fun space movie. It's like you throw away your attachments to Han Solo if you can. I know it's hard. Like there's franchises that I attach to more than Star Wars, and I'd probably have a more difficult time with.
Let the past die.
Yeah, right.
Kill it if you must.
It wasn't me. I didn't do it.
I was looking at Arezou when I said that.
Speaking my language.
But yeah, for me, what worked and didn't work for me personally is sort of irrelevant. It's like, I don't know, I had fun, and I'm not attached, so whatever.
I enjoyed the world building. I think it's one of my favorite things about Star Wars, that how it's like just continuously like showing us more and more. Like I've not gotten into like any of the literature or anything like that. Like I've really just stuck to movies for the most part. I feel like there's a whole literal universe in front of me that I could experience. So, but my limited experience of the movies, I enjoy just like getting more and more stuff, which is great. What didn't work for me was just like them really hitting home the die, just exchange that back and forth. I was like, man. And then like the Last Jedi promo and stuff, like, man, I did not realize this was that big of a deal. It just felt really like hit over the head. But that having been said, I would love a sequel in some form, even if it is. I wonder if a Disney Plus series is better suited for this. If we're going to go back and see him with Jabba doing that mission, that presumably is what's called back to in A New Hope. It's like, yeah, show me that stuff. And then maybe we can have full episodes, if not entire arcs or whatever, about just like Qi'ra and just that kind of stuff. I think the episodic nature of it kind of lends itself to us showing us more. So that would be my vote. Like, let's do Solo, but make it a Disney Plus series.
What about just like a Crimson Dawn series?
I mean, yeah, sign me up for
maybe
everything.
Have cameo.
Yes.
Have a Han Solo episode where they bump into each other. Jabba.
Exactly. Yes, that would be. I would love that. Yeah. So
just a little bit, not all Han.
Just a tiny
just
taste.
A little taste.
Yeah, just a tiny one Solo episode. That's it. Yeah.
What about you, Arezou?
So I think what works like on a story beat basis. I like the Corellia stuff, and I like everything after the train heist.
Okay.
I don't like the train heist, and I don't like the war stuff. It's just, it feels like two different movies.
Mm-hmm.
And the stuff after with like the Crimson Dawn mission and like Dryden Voss's yacht and all of that stuff and Memphis Nest, that's all really fun. But the train heist, I just don't like chase scenes ever.
Yeah.
Like the Rathar scene in The Force Awakens is my cue to get up and get more popcorn. Like it's not my kind of thing. So that didn't work for me, but the rest of it did. And I actually really do enjoy this movie for all that I have been picking at it. But should there be a sequel? I want to echo what Candace said, like Crimson Dawn series, focus it on Qi'ra, focus it on Maul, and have like Han pop up maybe once.
I need to know how Maul lost it all.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like that is like something that's really like interesting. Like as much as Rebels and Clone Wars cover it, he's become this crime boss. But by the time we see him in Rebels, he's like a frail, like
he's
old
gone.
man. Like he's lost everything.
Well, and
bridge
like
that gap.
Isn't everyone's favorite Star Wars Empire Strikes Back? And that's like the darkest one of all of them, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like, yeah, give us more dark Star Wars. Like it's literally an infinite universe. Like there's got to be dark corners. We know there are. Like let's dig in a little bit. Like let's have some fun with it. It doesn't have to be all.
Yeah. How is a giant slug the leader of the criminal underworld?
Yeah.
Darth Maul is gone.
What is up with Star Wars and their slugs and tentacles? Like I need to know because every single movie and TV show has it.
Now with the High Republic too, even if it's not tentacles, somehow it's tentacles.
Yeah. Somebody has a kink there.
Yeah.
That's worked there from the start.
It was a whole thing
built in. Yeah, and
from
like
A New Hope on.
And not to pick on the prequels too much, but like after just talking with you guys about this and all the different possibilities that have come out of like Solo or whatever, like don't we? I mean, I personally feel like I wish they would have just done that instead of the prequels. You know what I mean? Like I wish they just would have done more of the darker corners that aren't so much like the Luke and the Darth and the Leia story, but more so like the Jabba story or the evil empire, the evil underworlds, or little side character stories. That there's so much you can take from a Star Wars universe, and like I don't know,
it's getting away from the
Skywalker. That's what the books were for, though.
Yeah,
like back then, that's what the EU was for, because you're not going to get a whole new generation of kids in by developing something from old movies that their parents watched. Like the kids liked the movies.
Yeah.
Obviously, we wouldn't have seen the prequels if we didn't. But the prequels were meant for a whole different generation of kids. And you're not going to get them in by being like, remember that guy who was in 5 minutes of that movie you watched with your parents and you were already so exhausted
No,
by
that's
that point
fair.
you don't actually remember him?
Also,
okay, here's a movie about him.
That would mean no Ewan as Obi-Wan Kenobi. And
that would also mean no Ewan.
Oh,
And I would just... But like
The
maybe I'm
best.
just biased because like those were mine.
Yeah.
Like, that's when I grew
Yeah,
up.
we were
so
pretty
No, that's
cool
totally
fans.
fair. That's I think you're spot on, but it's just like, I mean, I didn't hate the prequels, but like, you know, again, Star Wars isn't really my thing, so I'm just like, they're in my opinion the worst part of the whole Star Wars universe. So it's like,
you're okay.
Send your hate mail to Tyler, please.
Okay.
I don't know, man. Like,
Send it
I don't
directly to
condone
us.
that. They're my favorite trilogy.
really?
Arezou's favorite movie is Revenge of the Sith. So
Nice.
I just like, these are fighting words.
Yeah.
Just gonna throw hands soon.
I love it.
My thing with the prequels
We never get any
is
controversy.
they are the most
Oh,
like
we
they
always
have
have
their
controversy.
moments. They have their weak moments, but they are the most coherent trilogy.
Because they have the same director.
They have the
which
same director.
Is
They
it-
were conceived as a trilogy by one person. Like, you know, everybody likes to be like, well, George Lucas improvised the original trilogy. It shows.
Yeah.
Like we love them, but it
Luke and
shows.
Leia make out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They
They
make
knew
out
they
one
were
movie,
siblings.
They're siblings in the next
Are the guys
one.
in
Like-
love or are they siblings? Find out next
So
time.
as a kid in elementary school, I was like, oh, she's going to end up with Luke because he's the hero,
Yeah.
you know, because I was like
Right.
8 or 9,
Yeah,
you
exactly.
know? But
Then, you know,
But
some
that's the whole
directors
thing
grew
is-
up and never let go of that. And that's okay too.
I
So-
do like my favorite Star Wars stuff is away from the Skywalker family. Like even Han is like an in-law,
Yeah.
really. To
Yeah.
like,
He married
he's a
into it,
Skywalker
yeah.
family member.
yeah.
He got
But, like,
pulled into their drama.
I love Star Wars Rebels and The Mandalorian so much.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, Mandalorian's incredible.
Just like Rebels with the character and world building, and like they go into the Mandalorian culture and everything like that. And yeah, there's so much more, but I feel like we had to start with the Skywalkers to get to where we are.
That's fair.
Yeah.
The Skywalkers are the base, and then we can
branch
build
it
off
out.
of
Oh,
that.
I'm 100% looking back with, hindsight and revisionist history and all that. And just like, I don't know. It's just like I'm having way more fun with the Star Wars stuff that's come out since the prequels. But to be fair, I haven't really given the prequels a fair shot since they came out. So who knows what my opinion would be if I watched them
I think
again.
it's
but
time. I think it's
I
time
just
to
like-
give it
yeah.
a try.
I'll do it for you, Arezou.
I think it's also time just to, focus on like maybe skip certain scenes and just focus on like Ewan McGregor,
Yeah.
who is like having the time of his life and is actually making that script work.
Yes.
And every possible, like, I don't know, like Natalie Portman doesn't come off. Like Oscar award winning Natalie Portman has her moments in that trilogy. Samuel L. Jackson, who can do no wrong in my mind, has some points in that.
In fairness to poor Natalie Portman, she was trying to do that in college at the same time.
It's tough.
In fairness to her.
She said no to Harvard.
You don't say
Well,
no to
pay for
Star
Harvard
Wars.
somehow.
Yeah, right?
I just like seeing Arezou roll those sleeves up when someone's
Yeah.
talking bad about the prequels. Like, okay.
If we're coming with a
Okay.
prequel, like
I thought I was
don't.
safe to slander, but apparently we
I
never
like
get
it.
we never get too much controversy here. So
We are prequel kids.
Yeah. No,
Listen.
I think in hindsight, I'm enjoying the prequels more and more. I think it was just obviously so different from the original trilogy. Just like George, he loves a blue screen, and that was just like that was
Tyler.
it.
Oh, I think you need to watch Clone Wars because I think once you watch Clone Wars, you really appreciate the prequel so much more.
okay.
Like, I
It's true.
love Revenge of the Sith now. Like, I thought it was good, but now it's like in my top 3 because what Clone Wars did.
Okay.
Just it builds on that and just the emotion of everything.
my friend and I just watched the entire Star Wars saga in
Including TV
chronological
shows.
order,
Oh wow.
including TV shows
Oh,
in
wow.
chronological order. So that took us, it took us 88 days to do the whole thing.
Wow.
But stopping at Attack of the Clones and then watching not the prequels, the Clone Wars in like story order, not release order,
Yeah.
which they have on like StarWars.com. They
Okay.
lay it all out for you. But watching it that way, so you watch Anakin transition from like hot-headed apprentice to like, headstrong, but ultimately a very good person, Jedi Knight. And then by the end of it, start to fall into the guy he is in Revenge of the Sith. Like, it tells that story so beautifully. Like, I think it stands fine on its own because my head will just be like, it's been 3 years of war. Of course, he's like worn down by this point.
Yeah.
But they really spell that out for you and all of the loss and all of everything that he and Obi-Wan have undergone over the last 3 years. And then by the time you get to Revenge of the Sith, you're tired and so are they.
Yeah.
That's fair.
And everything, like you believe everything what the Jedi did.
Yeah.
Like why Anakin's like, I'm sus of them. And I'm like, I think you should be.
I think you're right.
You might be right.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. You sold me. I want to give that a shot.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, come on the show when you guys do watch that.
Please.
So.
For sure. Absolutely.
I'm caught up. So have me on. Please
We're
take
making
me.
our co-hosts free watch. It's like the only way I can get them to watch anything is I'm like, it's for an episode for the podcast.
No, that's perfect.
Content. Got it.
That's literally why we started our podcast is
Yeah.
so we'd watch different stuff.
That's great. I essentially echo everything everyone's already said. Give me more of this, but preferably Crimson Dawn, Lando Calrissian, Qi'ra, pretty much anything. I'll take more
Except Han.
except Han.
Yeah.
But yeah, as a cameo. Give me a cameo.
Yeah, cameo.
Sure.
A fun little cameo. We see the Millennium Falcon in the background. It's fine. He's out doing his smuggler thing.
Yeah, exactly. But I have an undying love for everything Star Wars. I'm very easy on it. And I'll always be easy on it. I can't help it. And so if you're a hater out there, I'm sorry. I failed you.
Tyler.
Tyler.
I'm not a hater. I'm just
Tyler,
I'm
a
just,
resident hater.
You just
not
crushed
as
a lot.
attached.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so different. Like when you grow up with them
Yeah.
and there's such like, would you have like the Phantom Menace lunchbox and like, you
Oh,
know.
for sure. So
yeah.
there's a Stephen King series of books called the Dark Tower series.
Oh yeah.
And that's one of my favorite books. Well, all the books. I love that story. I love that series. And they've tried to do a few adaptations on film, and I haven't watched any of them because I refuse because I know it's going to be bad, even though one of them had Idris Elba. And so I just know there's no way that they could ever make that would satisfy me. So I do understand like the attachment to it. It's just I don't happen to have that attachment. So
yeah,
I feel for those that do and those that are disappointed. But
Idris, if you're listening, please like and subscribe. But I wanna turn it back over to you, Arezou and Candace, to sort of just again promote your pod, give our listeners a place to listen to more Geeky Waffle, Space Waffle content.
You can find us at thegeekywaffle.com, geeky_waffle on Twitter, the Geeky Waffle, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Go look at videos of my dog. We have our Geeky Waffle podcast, which is just like full of nostalgia and other geeky topics. Space Waffles is about Star Wars. Straight Out of Home Video is where I make my friends watch all the direct-to-home movie Disney sequels.
Oh, nice.
We've seen some good stuff. We've seen some shit.
Arezou got Kylo Ren talk into our Lady and the Tramp 2 episode.
Nice.
Scamp's Adventure.
Yes, I did.
I love it.
And this is not the first, nor will it be the last time.
That's some real talent.
Beautiful.
I like that.
Somehow I was on the live action Mulan episode, went on a 10-minute Kylo Ren rant.
You're like, this is Raylo.
It's Raylo. It's Kylo Ren. The witch is Kylo Ren. And I was just going on and on and on about it.
Oh my gosh. That's so cool.
That's awesome.
I love it.
Well, it's been great having you guys on. A pleasure to have you guys on. Two great Star Wars fans to be on our Star Wars episode. And I'm excited to get this out. I'm excited to tune into your Star Wars podcast. And so thank you again for joining us. We had a really great time.
Absolutely. Thank you.
I'm in the same situation.
You are?
I'm sure you've noticed that Lando has feelings for me, which makes working together difficult because I do not feel the same way about him.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I see that.
Sometimes I think, maybe. But no. We're just not compatible.
How would that work?
It works.